Hi guys, probably one of the worst aspects of Brexit is the lying. Not just about how much money would go to the NHS, or how trade with the EU would not change, or that Britain would leave the single market, but the lie that Brexiteers actually cared about the country. I think this is probably the worst lie of all. Being outside the single market and the EU has resulted in higher calls for British businesses, but instead of trying to soften the blow, the Brexiteer government has abandoned UK farming, manufacturing and exporters to their own devices, which makes it more and more difficult to operate internationally. Perhaps we should have listened more carefully when Boris Johnson said, F business.
It's an opportunity for governments not only to sell their products, but also to promote an ideal image of their country.
Do you think of anything in particular when you think of food from Britain?
Sausage, I don't know.
Quite boring, actually. Not so special.
But these cheese exporters are here to fly the flag for British gastronomy.
It's a massive job educating people because, the French and the Swiss and the Italians have been doing it a lot longer than we have. Parmesan's been around forever. So we've come in sort of fairly late. So we're having to get that message across.
And this is what they're up against.
Anyone want tiramisu?
For Italy, selling food to Asia isn't just vital for its economy, it's basically a form of diplomacy.
They're foodies, they love their food, they love their tradition. It's something we have in common, and that it's makes easier to spread also the Italian culinary tradition around the world.
I would say on that there. Thank you.
After Brexit, UK exporters were promised new markets.
Almost dropped it there. That is very good. You did say it was good. This is grass-fed 100% British beef. And these are the people that British producers are betting on. They want them to know, firstly, that this meat exists. And they're hoping, secondly, that they'll like it.
What brand is that?
And eventually, above all, that they're going to buy it.
The reality is that exports to Asia only represent a fraction of what Britain sells to the European Union. The UK government told the BBC that it has hosted events at trade shows in the region to try and drive demand for British food. But the suppliers, well, they don't receive any grants to attend these events in the first place. Unlike other countries, they had to pay out of their own pocket just to be here.
Which makes it very difficult to, stand out against the other European groups or other world groups that, are almost fully funded by government.
And see, there's the fundamental problem. It's a government, the Brexiteer government is a government based on rhetoric, not on action. When it came to the very first problems of Brexit, what was the advice they gave to businesses? Well, we're not actually going to help you. What we'll tell you to do is, and this was the Department of International Trade and Development, they were saying to businesses in Britain, if you want to continue to export into the EU, move your operations to the EU because we're not going to help you. And here we have an international trade event where Italy is getting funding from the Italian suppliers are getting funding from the Italian government, and in some cases the European Union is providing funding. Other countries like France, Germany, Poland was also mentioned in this report. These countries are getting the backing of their respective governments because the governments understand it's important for us to support exporters. While in Britain, the Brexiteer government has abandoned not just farming, manufacturing, but also exporters, which is ironic because they're also saying, the Brexiteer government, they're also saying what we're going to do is we're going to replace EU trade with Asian trade, but we're not actually going to help British exporters break into that market. They keep repeating about how, well, the solution is CPTPP and the Asian market is growing. There's a huge market there. Yes, but if Italian, for example, exporters are getting support from the Italian government and in some cases the European Union, how do you compare with that? It was mentioned in the report, how, yes, the British government does host a few events, but they don't provide the funding for the suppliers to turn up. So either the suppliers spend the money themselves, so it's out of their pocket, or they don't turn up at all. So you have a government minister there saying, please buy our cheese, please buy our beer, please buy our beef. Can we try it? No, because we don't have a supplier here. Why not? Well, we couldn't be bothered to provide them the funding to come here. This is beyond ridiculous, especially from a government that keeps talking about how we're going to replace EU exports with Asian exports because that's the growing market. How can British exporters compete with Italian, French, German, or whatever if the respective governments are backing them and the British government is not? It's a dead end. Like we saw it with manufacturing, we saw it with farming, for example, and Liz Webster has mentioned so many times how these trade deals were designed to hold up a piece of paper in the House of Commons to say, look, we have achieved something, instead of actually achieving something real for British farmers. Quality produce that could break into this market it's been held back by a Brexiteer government. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.